There are secrets out there, guys, performance marketing secrets, and knowing just one or two of them can absolutely light up your funnels. Let's go. This is the Revenue Driven CMO. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic. Join me as I uncover the secrets of the world's most elite CMOs and marketing leaders. The Revenue Driven CMO is sponsored by Web Mechanics, the AI-driven performance agency that makes you smarter. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Revenue Driven CMO. I am your main man, Chris Mechanic. I'm here with a super exciting guest, and I'm very excited to get into it with her. She is a marketing visionary. She's an advisor to many companies. She's a mentor. She's an investor. She's got decades of go-to-market experience leading B2B SaaS companies on everything from overall go-to-market strategy, brand, strategic partnerships, M&A integrations, product launches, customer journey, employee culture. Really well-rounded and experienced leader. She was the driving force behind SalesLoft's rapid ascent from like 16 million up to 135 million in just a few years, folks. That included multiple acquisitions, expansions into EMEA, where her team was actually credited for sourcing 80% of their revenue in the first year and just crushed the target at SalesLoft by 200%. She's a partner at Stage 2 Capital. She's been an advisor for companies like G2 and Alyce, which she's advising for currently, Marketo, Demandbase, so quite the resume. She is now the first ever CMO of Drata, which is a really interesting company, transforming the way that companies achieve compliance and build trust with their customers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Sydney Sloan. How are you, Sydney?
Thank you so much. I'm doing very well. Thank you. Wow, what an introduction.
Thank you.
Usually it's like, introduce yourself. Yeah, so I appreciate the preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Well, I did put the preparation work in because I'm very excited to be speaking with you. And you know how we like to roll. We like to kind of lead with the punchline. So why don't you just tell everybody listening, like, what is one of your big secrets to success?
Well, my soapbox, I'm going to jump on it and I'm going to talk about
on.
segmentation. So I think one of the things that I've been working on a lot is, thinking of the CMO role as the chief market officer. And so that means that we need to be, the leaders in the market have a good understanding of the market dynamic and helping our companies decide which markets we want to play in. And for me, it's always win. Like, I don't want to just play, I want to win. So how do we do that? And it's through as you called it, the 5-part alignment framework, where it really is about segmentation. And I've done this in my advisory roles, and within 7 weeks at Drata, I think it was my 7th week, we did this, and it really helps to align the leadership team on what the most important segments are to focus on. Generally speaking, I'll come into an organization and there might be 5 or 6, things that we're going after this segment and that segment, or we sold that customer, so let's go find more customers like them. And at SalesLoft, I think it was 14. At Drata, it was about 11. Plus, they're probably new ideas, and there's nothing wrong with each one of the ideas. The wrong thing is trying to do all of them at once.
Yeah,
that's the wrong thing, right? And so, here's the framework. The first thing is that you build the segments, and I'm not talking about giant TAMs. This isn't an exercise to show how big the market is. It's what part of that market do we believe we can capture to the point that we're building account lists. Like, we're in Zoom Info, we're playing around with the characteristics, the fit, technographic, firmographic, whatever we can find to define that segment to enough where it's like, we believe that this is a viable market, and these are the customers that make up 80% of that market, let's just say. We take that number and then we do a predictive 3-year value. So based on that segment, what do we think our ASP would be, and what percentage of that market do we believe that we can capture over the next 3 years? So it's kind of a longer view than just the segment itself. And that might be because one of the markets could be an existing market where we believe we can continue to capture more versus a new market where maybe we start slow and then grow fast. And so we want to make those assumptions when we're building out the different segments.
I see. And your predicted 3-year value is the value if you'd captured all of them, or you're assuming like, hey, we're going to get like 5% or 10% of these.
Correct. Exactly. Like we do the true what we think we can capture in terms of the market share, and taking into account too, like, can our company scale that fast? And, so we try to make it as realistic as possible. So we're comparing apples to apples. Again, all the options are on the table. We want to do our best to vet those options so leadership can have a discussion and decide. So we do the market sizing. That is like the true, the science work, the tangible. And then we go through a process with leadership where we look at what is a couple other factors. And the factors can change. It's not always the same thing. It depends on the company you're working with. But the things that tend to be consistent are, what is the investment needed for the go-to-market team? Does this means like sales and marketing? Is it marketing to similar people or capabilities or markets that we market today? Therefore, not a lot of incremental investment in terms of if you're going to a totally different market. So let's say you're selling to SaaS tech and you want to move into financial services. That would be a higher level investment because you don't market and the sales process is different. And generally it's better off to hire people from the financial industry who sold to financial companies before versus trying to take someone that's been selling to SaaS startups and think that they can sell to financial. It doesn't work. Believe me, I've tried. I know.
Right.
So what is that go-to-market investment in terms of the skills and talent you have today? Do we have to make an incremental investment or not?
And that's step 2, right?
That's step 2.
Okay. So we build out the segments realistically, like at an account by account level.
Go-to-market team is number 2.
Go-to-market
number
team.
3 is product fit. And this is, a subjective discussion, but things that you would discuss in here are, are they buying other technologies like ours? Are they a technology fast adopter type of segment? Or do they need, if they're highly regulated, then maybe they do have to have specialized product capabilities, or you have to integrate with a certain technology stack, which would mean that there's product investment required on our side. So that's, again, usually it's a scale of 1 to 5 for each of these, what on the chart that we use. And so it's like little to no investment is a 1, high level and investment is a 5. Using that financial services example again, we have there, in order to make it product market fit, we have to build 3 things that are going to take our teams, 8 months to build. So that would be a medium to high level investment versus no investment at all.
I'm with you. Okay.
Product fit is the third one. The fourth one is competitive moat. Will we be able to build a competitive moat with this particular segment? Is our competitor already in the segment? Are they leading the segment? And we're trying to catch up. Is it a brand new segment that neither of us are in? So by investing here, we believe we get that first mover advantage. If we are going to go ahead and build something in the product, do we think it'll give a sustainable longer term advantage? So when you're thinking about the rating, and that one is a high rating. So if we think, hey, they're not in this market yet, we're going to build something that is unique, and it's going to take them 6 months to catch up if they do a good job. So we're going to give ourselves a 12-month head start. That's a good, that would be a 5. Or that we have a unique partnership that is unique to us, and the partner has said that they will only do it with us, or they'll do it with us for 2 years, and then they'll open up to the greater market. So can we find areas where we get that distinct competitive advantage that is long-term? It's not a feature. It's not a feature discussion. This is like distinct year-long competitive advantage.
So competitive advantage, a higher rating is better. So a 5 would be the best.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
You're going for the highest number possible in the overall rating. So things that are higher or lower numbers, things that are easier or higher numbers, things that have higher impact or higher numbers. Okay. And the next one that I'm picking for today, and this really does have a lot to do with Drata, is partnerships. So can we develop and partnerships? And that could be any kind of partnership. Is it a strategic partnership where you build specific integrations and go to market together? Is it technology partnerships where you have a breadth where other technology partners are building integrations to your platform, therefore making it stickier? Are they reseller or MSP or MSSP partnerships? So where, that we can do a better job of developing those partnerships where those partners promote our products and not our competitors. So for each one of the segments, it may be a different kind of partner. So if I'm looking at a geographic expansion as a segment, so let's take our current market and SaaS startups and say, I want to do that in some of the European countries. This is one of my soapbox items too. People go, we're just going to expand into EMEA. Well, guess what? EMEA is like 34 countries or something like that. I could be totally wrong. But it's many countries. And so I think you have to be country specific when you're talking about expansion into Europe. Because, going into English first markets or English adaptable markets versus saying, hey, we're going to start in Germany because it's the toughest market to crack. And so that means we have to be localized. We have to meet their high level of regulation because it's going to make the rest of our expansion into Europe easier. That's a viable option if you want to go that route. So you just have to make, again, when you're doing your segment work, make the case. The partnerships could be different. So you might have MSSP partnerships taking you into new geographic market, where you might have a technology integration partnership, say in a financial services model.
Right. I'm with you. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. Okay. We're all over the place. So that's the fifth. That's the fifth one. There are more. And I think if you look at my name and account-based strategy, I've presented on this topic before with a sample. But that's it. You take those elements. I like to kind of pre-score them. And then as the leadership team, you sit and you discuss each one. And at Drata, we've decided to go evaluation criteria by evaluation criteria. So we looked at the SAM for all of them and discussed it. And then we looked at go-to-market fit for all of them and discussed it and adjusted the assessment per, as we were going through to ultimately score all of the different options. We had limited it. We did research on 12. We presented, I think, 7 or 8 to leadership, which we then walked through and then did the evaluation. It took about 2.5 hours for the workshop. And then you end up with your score. And that's when it doesn't matter if you pick 1, 2, and 4. It doesn't matter if you pick 2, 4, and 6. The fact is that you pick 3.
You pick 3 of them. Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Just pick 3 of them. Yeah. And I think 3, sometimes you'll see 5, but really I think 3 is always the magic number, regardless of company size. Like getting your execution teams to really fire on like strong cylinders around 3 is great. And once one of them starts going, you do the exercise again and you pick your 4th and your 5th, and and then you can continue to roll with it. It's something you could do at an annual basis, aligned with your strategic planning process. So that's what we did. We did it. We picked 3. And the difference of Drata versus other companies I've worked in is that Drata started implementing it the next week. Usually it's like, we put it in plan and we start, talking and the next quarter maybe, but no, we executed, we changed things the next week. I was like, okay, here we go.
That's awesome. Yeah. And one of my favorite things that you said is that like, look, there's nothing wrong with any individual segment, but what's wrong is to do them all at once. And I think a lot of people, or a lot of companies rather, fall victim to that approach where they're just like trying to be too many things, too many people. Like, and you see it all the time, probably. You go to a site and they have, industries or verticals like on the nav bar, and you hover over it and there's just like this huge fly out menu with like 98 different industries listed. It's like, come on, let's be specific.
Yeah. And I think it's the fear, right? Like that, of course you want to maximize your addressable market, but if you want to capture your addressable market, you have to be specific, right? You have to have that conversation with the customer. You can't, just say, oh, we have other financial services companies and not be able to tell the story. Or, where you're asking your sales teams to be conversant in 10 different markets. That's really hard too, right? How do you think about specialization so we get just really good at solving that problem or the set of problems associated with that segment? That's when, and if you're doing your analysis properly, you can say, well, we've only captured 5% of this segment. Maybe our competitors captured 5%. There's still 90%. Why are we already starting to bifurcate our strategy when there's 90% of the addressable market still right in front of us? Let's just triple down on it, go capture all of it, spend the next year, especially in this economic time where everybody's trying to become more efficient. Like, of course, focus.
That makes a ton of sense. So one quick question. So you've got this document. Is it the different segments are like in column A along the rows, and then your rating system are the different columns? Is that like generally
So
how it's structured?
rows are the segments and columns are the evaluation. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Brilliant. That's an awesome process.
Yeah.
I love that
It's
process.
kind of this mishmash over the years that I've kind of continued to evolve from, if you've read Jeffrey Moore, Crossing the Chasm and his strategy, there's elements of that in there. And then there was a couple other companies that I worked with that did work. And my time at SalesLoft, Albert Ree, who was then running product marketing, created the actual scoring framework. And I was like, dude, that's great.
Yeah.
And used it. And so it's just continued to evolve. It's actually Scale Ventures. I did a template for the Scale Ventures team too. So it's out there. Someone looks for it.
Yeah. And that's the best, actually. It's like when you spend a lifetime, reading, learning, and then you just basically like, amalgamate them into your own thing. That's really, I think, the mark of experience. Let me ask you this. Are the segments always like by industry, like, financial companies, or have you seen instances where those segments are something else? Like, for instance, B uses Salesforce or, some kind of technographic.
Yeah, it's mixed. That's the beauty of the model, that you can compare apples, oranges, and hotcakes. It's not even all outside of fruit. So tends to be industry is the obvious first one, because that's how you're like already looking at your orientation. And in my career, it's always been tech first. And then, but it can be other industries. So financial services, it could be sub industry. So it could be regional banks could be a good one, rather than, it's not financial services. You have to go like 2 or 3 levels deeper, where you're actually looking at SIC codes. Like we were on the US, business authority, like really reading through the SIC codes and then taking those SIC codes and putting them back into Zoom Info and our database and like pulling, like, should that be in there? Should that be in there? So we were cutting very deeply into like the segmentation. It could be a partnership. So when in past lives, I had like a partnership with Box or a partnership with AWS. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we segment that? Customers who use AWS, who also do open source, which would be indications of technographic fit of other open source technologies, who also used my competitor because we were switching out. That was the Alfresco version. So it could be a mixture, but it starts with partner in that one. And then it could be geographic. And I like to really break out the territories. I was starting to say that, where, it's not EMEA. Like, sure, I'll do a roll up with EMEA so you can get the full picture, but I want to look at like, is it UKI, which is UK, Ireland, plus, the Nordics, because those generally will allow you to, English speaking, or, do we start in France because it's got a high concentration of SaaS tech startups that are early adopters, but then you have to, in my mind, you have to hire in France. And you have to, be in Paris as an office. I advocated for that a couple of times. Never have won that battle 100%. Israel is another great market that, if you're an Israeli-backed company, Israeli investors, like that's a good way to kind of enter into a market where there's an affinity to purchase. So, there's lots of different variations of how to think about the geographical expansion. And then do you do it direct, or do you do it with partners? Do you do a blend?
Now, is it natural to assume, so like, let's say you go into a new company, you do this for the first time. They've already got customers that are successful and segments that they're operating. Does it tend to be like when you come into a mature company like Drata, like, does it tend to be net new like industries or net new focuses that require investment generally that you're going after? Or is it more so like, hey guys, we've already got 5% here. Like, let's double, triple down, like you said earlier?
It's such a great question, and good to clarify, because too often it looks like you have to only look at net new markets, and 100% you want to look at your existing customers. Absolutely. So, for your existing segment, and many times I talk to startups, that are 20, 30, 40 million, and they're like, oh, we're going to expand into these 3 new segments. And I say, why? Well, because, we need to continue to grow. Well, how penetrated are you in your existing market? Oh, we're going to think about 15%. Well, where's the rest of it? Why not stay focused? Why not try 1 instead of 3 at the same time? And I think too, a lot of sometimes the board might be encouraging them because it's a pattern that they've seen. But if you're confident in doing your research, and that worked for me at SalesLoft, we were being asked by our board to go into new markets. And we did this process, and we stood up confidently and said, we think that there's enough room in our current segment to stay focused this year on our current customer base and sell them new products. We're going to go acquire 2 companies. We're going to sell new products, and we're going to double down because we don't want to give that up to our competitor without the biggest fight. So absolutely. And looking at the value of upsell within your customer base could be another factor that you put into, like, net new customers, and then your customer base as another segment potentially.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And is there a magic number in your mind of like, okay, once we've captured X% of a market, then it's really time to think about adding a new one? Or does that not, is it 100%?
No, it's not. It's a good question. I don't have the perfect answer because I'm always comparing segments to segments and what we believe, and there's always been plenty. I would say if you can identify that more than 50% of the market is still available, I think it's still, like, again, it's like you have to size the market. You have to decide, like, how much more revenue are you trying to get? So if you're a $10 million company trying to get to 20 million, then that's much easier than, let's say, a $100 million company trying to get to 200 million. If you're 100 million, you do need multiple routes to market of, tangible markets. If you want to capture 5% market share in a year, then you need to, like, at 100 million, say, we think we can get 30 million out of this particular investment, next year or the year in the next 18 months to make it worth it. So I think you just have to, bigger bets that you have to place, or larger segments when you get bigger.
That makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk about Drata in a second. One last question on your 5-part framework, which I'll summarize here in a sec for anybody that's just joining now. But once you have the segments picked out, so you've narrowed down from whatever your number is, that might be 20, you've narrowed it down to 7, you've taken that into the room with the executive leadership team to further narrow that down to the top 3. Everybody locks arms and is ready to jump. What happens after that? Like,
I talk about codifying it into your go-to-market. So, if you're doing it around strategic planning, that becomes the like initiatives, their pillars, whatever people end up calling it, for the strategy for the company for the next year. And generally, I've seen the best way that this gets executed is you have working groups for each of the strategic initiatives, and then they define projects and programs, and then you put that in, a project management orientation where they're giving updates on the different initiatives. And if 2 of the 3 work, you're generally doing just fine. The different variations, because once you get into the ideas themselves, maybe it was harder to build the product, and so now we have to pivot this particular initiative in a different way or pull out. We had a couple at SalesLoft, after we'd done it for a couple of years, we got comfortable with it, and that we had a couple of skunk works projects on the side, but don't under resource them. This is the other lesson learned, is people are like, oh, we'll try out that market, we'll expand into Canada, or we'll put a person in Australia. Like, one person, like, are you making the bet or are you not making the bet? If I'm going to make the bet, I want to put the best foot for success. Because remember, I only want to enter markets that I'm going to win in. And so why won't we put a whole pod together? Like, make it truly functional. So they have to have the right sales, the right technical support, the right marketing support. Like, usually it's about a team of 8 to 10. And fund them to be successful, give them the best chance with enough runway to prove it right or wrong. If it's financial services, you need to be willing to make that investment for 18 months and pay the reps a different approach, like pay them on, how many customers on a POC versus like revenue for the first year. So adapt the incentives to how the market it evolves or matures.
Yep. Makes total sense. Love it. So quick summary for anybody that's joining right now. We got Sydney Sloan here on the line. She's ex-SalesLoft, took them from the low 8 figures to the 9 figures in just a couple of years. She's an advisor at G2, Alyce, Marketo, Demandbase, CMO at Drata, which we're about to hear about. But her 5-part framework is, first off, you build out the segments. And that's not just about like making the TAM as large as possible. That's about basically going into Zoom info and specifically building out, firmographics, technographics, account details. You line those all up in column A, and then along the rest of the columns, you're ranking them by certain things. What's the investment needed? Like, what are we going to have to invest in to go to market teams, to make this happen? Product fit. And I guess that goes into investment too. That's a subjective discussion where you're saying, hey, is this product even a fit for this niche? Are they, early adopters of this type of tech? Then you keep moving. Competitive moat. Do we have a moat? Could we have a moat? Then you move over into partnerships. And we kind of added a 6th also, which is upsell, cross-sell potential. But that's what I like about this framework, because you can make it your own, right? Like you can add different columns. If one of the columns is not necessarily relevant for you, you don't have to use it. But I love frameworks, and I especially love the stacked rank, like this kind of stack ranked variety, because it just makes decision making that much easier. So this is a brilliant tool. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, Sydney.
You're welcome. Can I tell one funny story?
Yeah, please.
So what I did in the exercise this time is I had everybody put the number of frameworks out. Let's just say it's 10, and gave everybody 3 like virtual sticky dots, like on a Figma board, and had them vote on what they thought the segments would be before we started the exercise. So get them engaged, like, okay. So there were dots all over. And then we went through the exercise, and the one that came out number 1 was like placed number 9. And, you want to trust instinct, but it was like 9th. The one that was number 1 was like 7th. So it completely changed because we went through the exercise together as a leadership team and gave input across all these different levers, to call them growth levers, that we walked out with a completely different oriented, like, oh my gosh, like, wow, we didn't even think about that. We didn't think about this incredible opportunity right in front of us as big as the opportunities we thought. And we were trying to push ourselves into a market that we weren't yet ready for. We're ready for it. And that's okay. We're not saying we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it right now. Right?
That would have been an expensive mistake.
It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, and everybody was like, oh, we saw what you did there.
Nice.
But yeah, but the whole point is alignment. Like and selfishly, it makes my job easier as a marketer, because now I know what segments and, what campaigns I need to run, and, where we need to invest our resources. And so then you don't get well, what about this idea? Or what about that idea? Because we've already gone through the process together and aligned as a leadership team. And so that stops that, like, scope creep that, because we sold one customer, like, yeah, that's great, but we already have our strategy in place. We can evaluate that the next time we go through the exercise.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. It makes it easy to focus with blinders, and it gives you a good reason to push back and be like, no, we're not going to that event. Like, that's not in the plan.
Right.
Cool. So tell us about Drata. I was not familiar with it before this. Could you, for other folks that aren't familiar with it, could you just kind of give us, in a nutshell, what you guys do, what you're all about?
Sure. So we're in the security space. I never thought I'd be in the security space either. But what we're doing is we're helping governance, risk, and compliance teams manage their compliance in an automated way. So for companies that need to sell to other companies that require a SOC 2. That's the most common one here in the US, that like you got to get your SOC 2 type 2 because of how you secure your customer data in the cloud. It must be done. And so we help people more easily achieve their SOC 2 compliance because we connect to all their systems. We help them make it easier to set their controls and collect evidence so they are prepared when they meet with the auditor. They still need an auditor. They still have to go through the audit in order to get their compliance. But we provide 15 plus different frameworks. We're continuing to build new ones all the time that change the game from doing like just the point in time evidence collection to always on. So you get a really good understanding of what your security posture is and what risks you have and where maybe something is not working as you intended it to work in your control, and will notify you. So it's transforming an industry that has yet to be transformed, surprisingly. And really it's about how we help them establish trust with their customers and their network. Because it's not just their customers, they have third parties that where, it's third party risk management, where it's not only what you can control, but now all the vendors that you use and their exposure. So you're trying to do your best to keep track of everybody and how they're doing their best to keep their systems secure.
Yep. I'm following you. So SOC 2, I'm on the website right now, which is nicely done. I like it. Oh. SOC 2, ISO 27001.
Yep.
HIPAA, GDPR is huge in our world, right? Yep. There's a CCPA, which is kind of a side shoot. PCI. Yep. I love spaces like this with a lot of acronyms because it's like a search engine marketer's dream come true with like, all of just like the random niche words. Because like nobody's going to be searching for PCI DSS, unless they're like somewhat qualified. Yep. Versus if you like say you sell sales software, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to be searching for like AI sales software.
Yeah.
So very cool. So I definitely get it. How long have you been there? Not very long, right?
No, I started in July. So just finished my first quarter.
Okay, very cool. So have you guys, well, it sounds like you've just gotten your sort of plan in place. Are you able to share anything about like how that exercise that you did went at Drata, or like what sort of segments you are going to double click into?
Yeah. So we did the exercises I mentioned in August and started to implement them the next week. So September, but one of them I can share, because we are in an incredibly competitive space. So I have to just be a little bit careful, because if I was my competitor, I'd be listening to this podcast too. Right. But we have a relationship with KnowBe4. If you've ever heard of KnowBe4.
Oh yeah.
They sell to companies to allow them to do their training and for anti-harassment training or workplace safety. And so they had a competitive product that they decided to end of life. And so we partnered with them to make that transition for their customers very easy. And to be able to, we built specific things to adapt to the KnowBe4 framework.
Oh, cool.
So they have 65,000 customers. This is a perfect example of picking a partner orientation for a segment. We have a unique differentiation because they chose us as their partner and recommended to their customers that they use Drata. And there's even some financial incentives for customers to be able to select Drata. So
wow, that's really smart.
Nice big moat. And it's the same sales process that we run today because we're still selling them their compliance automation capabilities.
How did you guys score that? I'm curious. How'd that?
We've got an awesome biz dev team.
Cool. Yeah, I'm familiar with KnowBe4. We're actually clients of theirs, and it's really cool. Well, my girl Cindy Zhao actually is the CMO. She started there not long ago, but it's really cool actually. Us. Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
What it does, or at least the product that we use, is it sends fake phishing emails. So this is an email. It looks really legit, and it's like it looks like it's from Amazon, and it'll be like, it's time to change your Amazon password. But if you look closely, like it's not from Amazon.com, it's from like goamazon.com, right? So it comes
Yeah.
also with like this phishing training, but it's like I was really impressed with the product. But anyway,
Yeah. But and yeah, that's the training part of it. But you're 100% correct. And when you think about security, the biggest risk that we can't control, even though we can connect to all the systems, is human behavior.
oh yeah,
That's the one, right? Like that one person that does click and then exposes yourself to ransom, like to attackers and puts the company in a precarious position. It happens every day. So we're able to help. We just actually launched some stuff around user access controls where you can make sure that people who've left the company no longer have access, because a lot of time that's done manually and now it's done automated. So yeah,
oh
it's a
brilliant,
good fit. Right. And that's the partnership angle. It's like, yes, we sell the same solution to, the complementary solutions to the same customer. So
yeah,
it's been
that
great.
makes sense.
I think we've gotten, like, since the announcement in it was mid-July was when we started, like 500 or 600 customers already, I'm guessing. Like it's a lot.
Wow,
Yeah.
that
It's
is a
been great.
lot.
We
How
grow
many
really fast.
customers? How many customers do you guys have overall?
We're a little over 2.5 years. So we'll be 3 in January. And we're about 4,000 customers in 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's insane.
Jeez Louise. That
Yeah,
is, I didn't realize
it's
that. So
insane.
the company's only 3 years old.
Yes.
Wow. I did not realize that. Well, good for
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. No, I jumped on a rocket ship. That's for sure.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
So what is really driving all this growth, like from a marketing perspective? It sounds like BD and partnerships has been huge for you, but how did you get, like, what are the other sort of sources that these 4,000 customers came from?
Well, you nailed it when you said an SEO person's dream, like the frameworks themselves, as someone searching for a SOC 2, like that speed to lead process is where we focus. It's where the majority of our customers come from. And then once they get their SOC 2, they can see that they're already like 60% of the way to getting their ISO 27001, or their so because you've set your control, Drata will show those controls that are also used in other frameworks and kind of guide you to what's the next best framework based on your company's strategy. If you're expanding into Europe, then you're going to need GDPR and you're going to need the ISO frameworks. If you're selling in healthcare, you need HIPAA. So it shows you that like you're already X amount of the way there, and you don't have to repeat your efforts. And so we spend a lot of time in PPC and SEO. That's the team before I got there. Like that was definitely the focus. And there's quite a few competitors that are entering the market. So we're trying to figure out how do we do this and become more efficient at doing it, because those the keywords have been bid up to a ridiculous level.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
I wish I wish there was some way to like invest and grow your money at the rate that the cost per click grows. Like we would all be millionaires.
I know. But the other thing that that I think is important is for us to make sure that we're still not just marketing to the frameworks, but marketing to the buyers. And so that's one thing that we've looked at is like, how do we do more persona-based work? And so that's been a big change in terms of our campaign structure. And then also, I'm so pleased and proud that my product counterpart was willing to go from an always on continuous launch process, which is very common in startups, especially in highly competitive markets, to going to a quarterly launch rhythm, because it was just like feature, launch. And the product marketing team is just like constantly week on week. And to the point where we're sending emails to our customers all the time and it just becomes noise.
Yeah.
And so our goal was, how do we get our customers to 10x their level of engagement on our releases? And so within my next quarter, so we did our very first one, we call it Drataverse Digital, and it's a quarterly customer event, highly produced, where we feature our tier 1 product releases. And we'll still put a newsletter out for tier 2 and tier 3, but in our first, like our average number of attendees when we were doing the one-off releases was like maybe 80 people would show up to a webinar. We've had over 850 watch Drataverse Digital so far from last quarter. So that was our goal to 10x it. And we did, because it's so important to make sure our customers are aware of the innovations and the investments that our amazing product team is making. So that's a big push for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like a lot of partnerships, a lot of SEO, SEM, and on the point of marketing
Customer
to
marketing.
customers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So you meant
That's it.
actually marketing to the customer base. I thought you meant marketing like to the avatar itself. Okay, got
No,
it.
to our customer base, those 850 attendees were customers.
Oh, that's smart.
Maybe prospects, some partners. I mean, we're promoting it externally, but the goal is to educate customers more effectively. Yeah. With
Brilliant.
the output is like not just the number of attendees, but then our product marketers and product managers are responsible for adoption. So for
Yeah.
tier one products get launched, their goal is not launch. Their goal is, setting a goal for one product. We just was like, we want 20% of our customer base to be using this product in the next 6 months. We have 4,000 customers. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So you have to educate them that it's available. You have to make sure that it's easy to turn on, understand what the hurdles are, fix it. So
Yeah.
it's like keeping them focused on the product to make sure that what we just invested in is actually being used and that customers are aware. Because we don't want them to go to our competitors thinking that our competitor has capabilities we've already built.
Right, right.
So that's important. Mm-hmm.
That's brilliant. Well, you guys are kicking ass and taking names. I'm really impressed. Um, I'm wondering, I mean, I'm sure it's not all wine and roses. Like what are some of the challenges that you're struggling with?
Oh, I mean, moving at this pace, and it's just, and making sure that the team doesn't get burnt out, which is hard because we're moving really, really fast. Building a culture that can adapt to change and get comfortable with it. I think
Yeah.
that's part of the coaching and kind of like where we have to teach people how to like thrive in an environment like this. And it's always hard when a new leader comes in. You want to build trust at, like up level the team and like, create career paths for folks. So I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that everybody, feels seen and heard, and that we're building some, um, you know, just rituals that work for our team.
Yeah.
And so we set up we call it the best in the biz group. That's what we wanted to call it. And meaning, we want to be the model inside Drata for the things that we decide to focus on, which for us has been our onboarding experience because we're hiring so many people so quickly. So how do we think about doing that that's unique to the marketing team? We want to have, personal development plans in place that we created a version for us, and that will be our training next month when we do our offsite. And then just recognizing and celebrating each other's success. So we have a lot of things we do every week, but what can we continue to do to recognize folks? So we have a shout
Nice.
out channel that's pretty loud. Yeah.
Oh, I love those channels. Those are the best.
Yeah.
How many people are on your team?
A little over the mid 30s.
Oh, wow, that's a
I
pretty
don't
big
have the
team.
SDRs, so it's just marketing. And marketing ops actually is in RevOps. So
Got it. Who are you
yeah.
looking to hire? They might be listening right now.
So we have an EMEA director of EMEA marketing that we're looking for
Hmm.
a superstar to join and be our first hire in EMEA. That's one that I'm excited about. We've got quite a few product marketing, so senior PMM roles for some of the new products that we're introducing. So,
Hmm.
so if you're interested or your friends, please apply for our product marketing roles. Let's see, we just hired a bunch of people. I have a customer marketing leader. Oh, but we have a customer marketing manager role that's open. Um, those are the big ones off the top of my head right now.
Okay.
We literally just hired 5 people in the last 2 weeks. So
Wow.
working on getting them onboarded. Yeah.
Wow, man, you guys are
Pricing and
growing fast.
packaging, product marketing. We have a partner marketing. So yeah.
Cool. So, as you look forward to the rest of Q4 and 2024, uh, what else are you guys investing in? Or are there any like new
Oh yeah.
initiatives that are in view?
What isn't in view? So I mean, efficiency has to be part of it. I mean, we've grown so fast, and you get to this level of scale already with this many customers, and now we have to really evaluate kind of how were we solving it before, and now how do we rebuild this for scale.
Hmm.
We're also implementing an account-based approach. We just implemented Reach Desk. We've got 6sense that we're putting in place. that includes the add-ons for sales and SDRs, which will take a lot of enablement work to get them up to speed. I mean, there's just always something. Sprout Social, like social platforms are looking at. So those are the biggest one is, we wanted to introduce the campaign framework. We want to, be more efficient in the way that we execute. So we call it in marketing land, right? An account-based approach, but guess what? To me, it's a segment.
Right. Exactly.
It's not just account-based is not for enterprise anymore. It's a segment. So I'll put 15,000 names in a SMB segment campaign, no problem. And I know my targeting is going to them and it's going to be relevant versus just the insane check I'm writing to Google right now.
Right.
Really figuring out how can I be more efficient. There is also with LinkedIn. We have a great partnership with the LinkedIn team. And so just really trying to build the right execution for the right segment.
Yeah. Brilliant. That sounds really smart. Well, this has been an awesome interview. Thank you so much, Sydney. I've learned a lot here and been inspired. I want to be sensitive to your time. We have just a few minutes left. Do you want to jump to the lightning round?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Question number 1. If you were to start a side hustle, what side hustle would that be?
Organizing people's closets.
Nice. I love it.
I love organizing.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Sounds like you were ready for that one. You just had the answer right off the top of your head.
That's the truth,
though. Question number 2 is top 3 books, authors, podcasts, thought leaders that really have made an impact on you.
Oh boy. Play Bigger. I really do think that that's the Bible for category creation. I think it's called the 14 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, which is all about, living above the line, asking why, seek to understand, and choose to always take a positive path. That was something that was tied to our cultural values at SalesLoft.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Patrick Lencioni, I'll stick on the leadership books. The advantage is the summary of all his books. So if people haven't read the 5 dysfunctions, then I just say, go ahead and advance right to the advantage. You'll get all of the summary in one, and just the whole idea of the foundation of trust, and then holding people accountable and to deliver results, like the entire trust tree. I subscribe to it. It works. I use a lot of their frameworks in our team building exercises. So that's my third one.
That's awesome. Is that one written also in like a story, like narrative?
It is like use case based. They're kind of, a little bit hokey, but they get the point across. So, and they're easy reads. That one, the Lencioni books are super easy. That's like an afternoon type of book. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. And then question number 3 is, how do you avoid getting burned out, and how do you help your team to avoid that also?
Well, I did get burned out in my last company. So I don't recommend working 7 days a week and traveling back and forth to Atlanta for 4 years. I think it's ruthless prioritization, and it's so hard. That's why it's so important to start at the top. Like if you can get alignment with leadership, and that's my job. Like my job is I'm an executive of the company, and I just happen to run the marketing function, but I'm constantly trying to how do we focus? How do we focus? They're going to make a t-shirt called "Focus is my favorite F word" because I say it all the time.
Nice.
But I think that ruthless prioritization and empowering the teams to say no and getting the company okay with it. And that's really hard when you're growing this fast and you've got the demands coming. But that's number 1. And I think number 2 is when people are off, let them be off. Trust your team, right? Delegate. This person's going to take over, and really allow yourself to take the week off. Don't feel like you're so important that, you have to continue to be on. I'm just going to check in every day. No, the whole point is to recharge and your battery. And you're not going to do that if you're still tapping into it.
Yep. Makes a ton of sense. And I love those answers. Well, thank you again, Sydney. This has been amazing. For everybody listening, if you learned anything here today or had a laugh, do us a favor, share this with a friend or drop us a 5-star rating wherever you get your pods. Sydney, I'm sure a lot of folks are interested to learn more about you as well as Drata. Where would you direct them?
LinkedIn. So I'm Sydney Sloan or at Sid Sloan at LinkedIn.
Brilliant. All right.
Yeah. Or
Simple enough.
Drata.com, obviously.
Simple enough. So we'll include all the books mentioned, links to the website, and some other goodies in the show notes. Until next time, that was another exciting episode of Revenue Driven CMO, and we will see you next time. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us here today. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at revenuedrivencmo.com. That's revenuedrivencmo.com. And hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours. Even if you're already a client. If you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. And that's just because you're a listener of this podcast. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenuedrivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenuedrivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision.